On the way to the summit, you will encounter the body of a woman covered with an American flag. This is the American climber, Francis Arsentiev, who is referred to as the Sleeping Beauty. Francis Arsentiev's story is one of the most tragic in the history of Mount Everest. In 1998, Francis, along with her husband Sergei Arsentiev, attempted to climb Mount Everest without supplemental oxygen, an achievement only a few climbers in history have managed. This would make her the first American woman to reach the summit of Everest without supplemental oxygen. Indeed, they reached the summit on May 22, 1998. After they reached the top, the daylight began to fade, and their descent attempt turned into a catastrophe. During their descent from the summit of Mount Everest, Francis became separated from her husband Sergei due to his exhaustion and oxygen deprivation. Meanwhile, Francis eventually ran out of oxygen. Stranded, exhaustion, and extreme cold took over, and she could no longer continue. On the other hand, Sergei realized that his wife was no longer with him and decided to return to the mountain to search for her. However, this decision ultimately cost him his life, and he died there. The following day, May 23, 1998, British climbers Ian Woodall and South African Cathy O'Dowd encountered Francis Arsentiev near a part of Everest known as the First Step, at an altitude of around 8,600 meters. Francis was still alive but barely conscious. She was extremely weak, unable to move, and could hardly speak. She was suffering from frostbite, low temperatures, and severe oxygen deprivation. They tried to help her, but under such harsh conditions and without the proper tools or means of assistance, her fate had already been sealed, and they had no choice but to leave her to die. Before leaving, they wrapped her in extra clothing and promised to send help. Even though they knew any rescue attempt would be too late, it was clear her time had come. As for her husband, Sergei Arsentiev, his body was later found, suggesting he fell during his descent attempt. Francis Arsentiev's body remained on Mount Everest, lying where she fell. Because of her calm appearance, as if she were sleeping, with her head tilted to one side, she became known as the Sleeping Beauty. Her body, dressed in a purple jacket and snow pants, became a grim and tragic landmark on the mountain. In 2007, 9 years after her death, Ian Woodall, the British climber who had found Francis before her death, returned to Everest for one final mission. Feeling that he had not completed his work, and also due to the many photographs that had spread online showing Francis's body lying on the ground, Woodall, with a small team, located Francis's body and moved it away from the main climbing route. They covered her with an American flag and left her preserved body in the open air, marking her as an open grave and memorial on the mountain.